In April 2014, two Dutch girls went hiking in Panama and never came back. 10 weeks later, their backpack was found, and inside was a camera containing over 100 photos. Photos that would turn this case into one of the most disturbing viral mysteries on the internet. Because here's what those photos showed. 90 images taken in pitch-black darkness over 3 hours in the middle of the night. Random shots of rocks, branches, plastic bags carefully tied to sticks, their belongings arranged in strange patterns on the jungle floor. And one haunting close-up, the back of someone's head. Millions of people have analyzed these photos. Theories range from a tragic hiking accident to something far more sinister. Some claim the evidence points to foul play. Others believe the girls simply got lost and died from exposure. And a few think something much darker happened in that jungle. But here's what nobody tells you. One photo is completely missing from the camera. Photo 509 was either deleted, corrupted, or never existed. And that missing image might be the key to everything. I'm going to walk you through the actual evidence. The phone records, the mysterious night photos, the remains that were found, and the official investigation. No wild speculation, no clickbait theories. Just the documented facts of what happened to Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. And I'll warn you now, the truth might not be what you expect. This is their story. Let's get started. April 1st, 2014. Boquete, Panama. It's a sunny Tuesday morning in this small mountain town nestled in the western highlands of Chiriquí province. The air is cool at this elevation, 3,900 feet above sea level, and the lush cloud forests surrounding the Baru volcano are breathtaking. At exactly 11 a.m., two young Dutch women, 21-year-old Kris Kremers and 22-year-old Lisanne Froon, set out on a popular hiking trail called El Pianista. They're dressed casually in shorts and tank tops, carrying only a small backpack. Inside, 2 cell phones, a Canon camera, water bottles, and some snacks. They tell their host family they'll be back before dark. The trail is well established, only 2.5 miles long with scenic views at the summit. An easy afternoon hike. That evening, their host family's dog returns home alone. Kris and Lisanne never come back. To understand this story, you need to know who these women were. Kris Kremers was 21 years old, studying cultural studies at Utrecht University with dreams of working in the arts. Friends described her as energetic, creative, open-minded, someone who could find beauty in the smallest moments. She loved photography and travel, always seeking adventure. Lisanne Froon, 22, had just graduated with a degree in applied psychology. She planned to work with children who had experienced trauma. Calm, thoughtful, with a sharp sense of justice. She was passionate about volleyball and helping others. They'd been best friends since childhood. This trip to Panama was their first international adventure together. For 6 months, they saved money working at a local cafe in Amersfoort, planning every detail of this journey. Panama wasn't just a vacation, it was meant to be meaningful. They wanted to volunteer with local children, learn Spanish, and make a real impact. On March 15, 2014, they arrived in Panama. After 2 weeks exploring the country, they reached Boquete on March 29th to stay with a host family. They were supposed to volunteer at a local school starting April 3rd, but they had a couple of unexpected free days before classes began, so they decided to explore the El Pianista Trail. It seemed like the perfect way to spend a Tuesday morning. The morning of April 1st started normally. The sun was bright, the weather clear. Kris and Lisanne told their host family they'd be gone just a few hours, aiming for the Mirador viewpoint in the mountains. According to their camera, the hike began beautifully. Early photos show them smiling, laughing, taking selfies on the trail. They're relaxed, carefree. One image shows Kris standing on a small wooden bridge, beaming at the camera. Another captures Lisanne against the vibrant green backdrop of the jungle. Around 2 p.m., Lisanne took what would become the last photos of Kris alive. Images that show her walking along the trail, still seemingly fine. Then nothing. The photos stop. The trail continues. And somewhere beyond that tourist route, beyond the safety of the marked path, Kris and Lisanne vanished. When the dog returned home alone that evening, the host family grew concerned. They waited through the night, hoping the girls had simply lost track of time or decided to camp somewhere. But when morning came and there was still no sign of them, panic set in. On April 2nd, when the women missed a scheduled appointment with a local guide, authorities were finally contacted. By April 6th, the families of Kris and Lisanne had flown to Panama, bringing Dutch police detectives with them. Panamanian authorities launched a full-scale search operation. Police officers, dog units, local volunteers, all combing the dense forests around Boquete. The families offered a $30,000 reward for any information. For 10 days, search teams scoured the jungle. They followed the El Pianista Trail, explored the surrounding areas, checked rivers and ravines. But the rainforest is unforgiving. The canopy is thick, the terrain treacherous, and the rainy season was beginning. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. No trace, no clues, no bodies. And then, after 10 agonizing weeks of silence, something surfaced. But what investigators found would only deepen the mystery. On June 14, 2014, a local woman near the village of Alto Romero, in a completely different province, Bocas del Toro, found a blue backpack along the banks of the Culebra River. She immediately recognized it might be connected to the missing Dutch girls and turned it in to authorities. When police opened that backpack, they were stunned. Inside were 2 pairs of sunglasses, $83 in cash, Lisanne's passport, a water bottle, 2 bras, both women's cell phones, and Lisanne's Canon camera. Here's what made this discovery so strange. Despite Panama's brutal rainy season, the backpack appeared clean and dry. Locals claimed it hadn't been there the day before. How does a backpack remain pristine after sitting in a jungle for 10 weeks? And why was it found miles away from the trail, in a completely different region? Police immediately examined the phones and camera. What they found was chilling. The data showed that approximately 6 hours into their hike, around 4:39 p.m. on April 1st, someone dialed 112, the international emergency number. Minutes later, at 4:51 p.m., another call was made from Lisanne's phone to 911, Panama's national emergency number. Neither call connected due to lack of reception in the area, but that was just the beginning. Over the next 4 days, 77 emergency call attempts were made from both phones. 77 desperate attempts to reach help. Only one call managed to connect for just 2 seconds before breaking up. The pattern was systematic, methodical. Every few hours, someone would turn on the phones, try to call for help, then turn them off to conserve battery. On April 4th, Lisanne's Samsung Galaxy died completely. But here's where it gets even stranger. Between April 5th and April 11th, Kris's iPhone was turned on multiple times, but someone kept entering the wrong PIN code, or no PIN at all. It was as if whoever had the phone couldn't unlock it. On April 6th, several unsuccessful attempts were made with an incorrect PIN. The phone was turned on for the last time on April 11th at 10:51 a.m., then shut off at 11:56 a.m. After that, complete silence. Now let's talk about the camera, because this is where the case transforms from mysterious to absolutely haunting. On April 8th, 1 week after the women disappeared, 90 photographs were taken between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. in near complete darkness. 90 flash photos taken over 3 hours in the middle of the night deep in the jungle. Most of the images show nothing but blackness. Random shots of vegetation, tree branches, the jungle floor. But some photos are deeply unsettling. One image shows the women's belongings carefully arranged on rocks. Sunglasses, a water bottle, items spread out deliberately. Another shows red plastic bags tied to a stick placed on top of a rock. There are photos of candy wrappers, tissues, a small mirror on a rock. And then there's the most disturbing image, a close-up of blonde hair, likely the back of Kris Kremers' head. Some investigators have suggested there appears to be blood near her temple, though clearer analysis hasn't definitively confirmed an injury. The 2 women themselves appear in none of the other night photos. Theories abound about what these photos mean. Were they using the camera flash as a signal to attract rescue teams? Were they documenting their location? Or was something, or someone, else taking these pictures? And here's another mystery. Photo number 509 is missing entirely from the camera's memory card. It doesn't appear in the file structure, raising questions about whether it was deleted intentionally, corrupted, or never existed at all. What was in that missing photo? The discovery of the backpack led to intensified search efforts along the Culebra River. Soon after, Kris's denim shorts were found on a rock across the river, several kilometers from where the backpack had been discovered. Then came the worst findings. 2 months later, a pelvis and a boot with a foot still inside were found near where the backpack was discovered. Soon, 33 bone fragments, widely scattered along the riverbank, were recovered. DNA testing confirmed they belonged to Kris and Lisanne. In total, only around 10% of Lisanne's bones and 5% of Kris's bones were ever found. But the condition of these remains raised even more questions. Lisanne's remains showed natural decomposition, with skin still attached and bone marrow intact. But Kris's bones were mysteriously bleached white, with unusually high phosphorus levels that didn't match the local soil. A Panamanian forensic anthropologist noted that under magnification, there were no scratches or marks of any kind on the bones, nothing indicating violence or animal activity. So what happened to the rest of their bodies? How did 95% of Kris's remains and 90% of Lisanne's remains simply vanish? The official investigation concluded it was a hiking accident. By March 2015, Panamanian authorities formally closed the case, determining both women perished in an accident, possibly falling from cliffs or being swept away by the swift river currents. Dutch investigators largely agreed. The authors of the book, Lost in the Jungle, who spent years researching the case, concluded flash floods typical to the area could explain the scattered remains and missing evidence. But many people, including some investigators and the women's families, aren't convinced. Here are the main theories. The accident theory. They got lost after hiking beyond the tourist area, possibly fell from a cliff or monkey bridge, were injured and ultimately died from exposure and injuries. The night photos were desperate attempts to signal for help using the camera flash. The lost theory. They became disoriented, wandered deeper into the jungle, couldn't find their way back, and died of exposure over several days. The phone calls and photos were survival attempts. The foul play theory. They encountered someone on the trail, perhaps were followed, attacked, or kidnapped. This would explain the wrong pin attempts, the mysterious condition of the backpack, the missing photo 509, and the strange arrangement of belongings in the night photos. Former detective Dick Steffens even suggested Kris could have been kidnapped by traffickers, though this remains pure speculation. There's also the taxi driver angle that adds another layer of strangeness. In March 2015, Leonardo Arturo Gonzalez, the 34-year-old taxi driver who drove Kris and Lisanne to the El Pianista Trail, mysteriously drowned while waiting for tourists at a river. Coincidence or connected? More than a decade has passed since Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon disappeared on that sunny April morning. Their families eventually found some measure of peace with the official accident conclusion and laid them to rest in the Netherlands. A small memorial was erected at the Mirador viewpoint along the El Pianista Trail. But the case refuses to die. Online communities continue to dissect every pixel of those nighttime photos. Investigative journalists travel to Panama to retrace their steps. Podcasts and documentaries explore new angles. In 2022, a major investigative podcast series, Lost in Panama, brought renewed attention to the case. Researchers continue to debate. Some purchased the same Canon camera model to recreate the night photos. Others analyzed the phone data, searching for patterns investigators missed. The missing photo 509 has become almost legendary, a digital ghost that might hold the key to everything. The Panamanian jungle keeps its secrets well. The dense canopy, the rushing rivers, the steep cliffs. It's a place where people can vanish completely, where evidence can be scattered by water and wildlife, where the truth can be buried beneath layers of vegetation and time. So what really happened to Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon? Were they simply two young women who made the tragic mistake of wandering off a marked trail and got lost in an unforgiving wilderness? Did they fall, get injured, and die slowly from exposure while desperately trying to call for help? Or is there something darker at play? Something that explains the pristine backpack found 10 weeks later, the wrong pin attempts, the 90 mysterious flash photos taken in complete darkness, the missing photo, the bleached bones, and the taxi driver's strange death? The truth is, we may never know for certain. Unlike TV crime dramas where every mystery gets wrapped up neatly in an hour, real life doesn't always give us closure. Sometimes the evidence is incomplete. Sometimes the jungle doesn't give up all its secrets. And sometimes the most honest answer we can give is, we don't know. What we do know is this: two bright, ambitious young women with their whole lives ahead of them went on a simple day hike and never came home. Their families still grieve. Their story still haunts everyone who hears it. And somewhere in that Panamanian jungle, there are answers we haven't found yet. What do you think really happened on the El Pianista trail? Do you believe it was a tragic accident, or is there evidence of something more sinister? Let us know your theories in the comments below. And if this story affected you the way it affected me, please consider subscribing. We cover cases like this. Real mysteries, real people, real unsolved questions. Because these stories matter. These lives matter. Thank you for watching. And remember, if you're ever hiking in an unfamiliar place, always tell someone your plans, carry emergency supplies, and never ever underestimate the wilderness. Stay safe out there.